Now, I know I don't have any room to talk, but did we get anything from Kate, you know, if she's coming or she would bring it over?
I'm pretty sure she was going to come and then they were talking about visiting, pick her up.
But why does she need to be?
I'll put it upstairs.
Oh. It must be pretty.
No, we just here. Yes, they shall move.
Oh, you get your haircut?
I did.
I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, sass girl. No. Good. How's the beer business?
Busy right now.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
People actually change their minds instead of drinking, which is nice.
What's that?
People actually change their minds and started drinking again. Which is
Oh.
nice. They have not been drinking like they used to. Morning.
What caused that? I mean, why did they slow down?
Oh, it's a national trend.
Oh,
Oh, Jen, and she, I'm like, now she's easier.
Oh, those.
You said that last time too. You congratulations too. Of the day.
I'll mention some, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, good, is that still on? It's huge. Hey, Gary. Okay, but.
Thank you. And Mike's also had a big week with this.
Oh, yeah. I don't, I just said you had a big week, but that's not.
5280.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the
Top 25 restaurants.
Yeah.
Or, the new one.
Lots of work.
Yeah, then you gotta go.
Thank you. You're on fire.
Yeah.
Are you guys
That you would be raised the price of talking that.
Yes. You know, spare, I had so much room.
I think too.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay.
Yes.
Make more people so that way.
Yeah, I see.
All right. perfect.
I'm,
Okay,
yeah.
feel like-
Yeah. I've been being pulled to the side by,
Multiple people. Yeah.
and,
Have you guys?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we do it, probably, my wife's been there, so.
Oh, it's really like
Yeah,
that.
it's more awesome.
That's my favorite around there.
Yeah, it's a, you know,
Oh.
having says, like, so you say.
I
yeah.
know what this is like. So just look at it.
Oh, yeah, I think it's like, surprised.
This trip, when your eyes are open.
As, there, so.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
that's what it is.
But lots of time.
We're adults, we gotta, you know. We go to the old server.
Yeah. Oh, wait, what? My gosh,
Everyone made out of everything.
is this all? The funny thing is just last night.
Huh? This year.
Yeah. I've never been there. We're just.
Somebody was talking about like what things.
All right, folks, it is 8 AM on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. This is the monthly meeting of the Georgetown Business Promotion Commission, and we are meeting at Town Hall, 404 6th Street, Georgetown, Colorado. May I have a roll call, please?
Just because of that,
Here.
My husband's
Here.
also,
Here.
Chairman Drew Hart,
Here.
Gary Smith.
here, Gary Hayes.
Here.
Greg Abraham.
I have some items for the agenda, so I'd like to propose adding a few things. And maybe the easiest way to do it would just be, chairman's report. So can we add a chairman's report? And, and then could we add Paul Boat to talk about, some of the trends in tourism that he learned about? He'd like to make some comments on that. Anybody else have anything that's not on the agenda? Okay.
If it's not in the chairman's report, can we do a leaf peeper?
Yes, let's, I would like to do leaf, peeper, debrief, Coda and Sixth Street one way during, the town administrator's report. Is that okay?
Go with the three things.
Leaf peeping, Coda and Sixth Street. I didn't see Keisha on the,
I didn't know if you wanted it on there,
that's okay, that's okay. I'm sure Rick can answer that for us. Okay, anything else?
Well,
Is that good? Is that good for you? Okay.
it strikes me, we've got one more meeting before the board needs to have our final budget. And one more meeting.
I'm gonna talk on budget.
realistically before Christmas market.
Ooh, gosh. We should say, so you're.
Yeah, we put it like that.
My point is that our largest wintertime downtown event is.
Yes,
That's way.
agreed.
Are you saying we should talk about fireworks?
I think you're talking about,
We'll put that on.
are you talking about Coda?
No, I'm talking about our budget, I'm talking about.
Okay, but, okay, that'll be part of my report.
Do you want
It'll be-
Christopher?
Another work session is what we need.
So what else are we adding?
budget,
Market?
yeah, and then.
But it's all work session,
Okay, anything else?
Are we adding Christmas market? Yeah, are we adding Christmas market, Chris?
I have a meeting with Christmas Market after this meeting. I know you wanna talk about it today, so I mean, you've got two key players that can talk preliminary, or are you talking more budget?
No, it's fun.
Okay, okay, all right, so can we have a motion?
I make a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye, okay. Audience business, members of the audience will have 5 minutes to present any matter of interest related to the business of the town that is not already on the agenda. Those attending virtually may use the chat feature. No official action may be taken at this time. Do we have any business owners or operators to welcome?
We are in the process of having Mountain Buzz go through a shift. That will be exciting to keep an eye on, but we don't have any updates at this time.
Okay, all right. Out of respect for Jess Jones, let's go ahead and keep her at number 1. Go, Jess.
Woo!
Anything happening in your life recently that we should know about?
Yeah,
Let's
lead
start with
keeper.
that. No.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean.
So one of my first things I wanted to talk about was the governor's conference was just happened in Crested Butte last week. Not only did I get to graduate the leadership program, which I am so thankful for every member of the board approving the budget and supporting me through that. Our efforts throughout town and our community has got me and Georgetown spotlighted, so I did win the Rising Star in Tourism Award.
Interrupt. Go for it, interrupt.
Yes.
So I just want you all to understand exactly how important this award is. There were 400 leaders in the tourism industry in that room that night. 400 people, all leaders. That means the top marketing companies in the country. The owner of that company is there. All of those people are there. All the visitor center people are the slugs of it. It's all these major marketing people. The state is there. Usually the governor's there. He wasn't this year, but it's the top people in the state of Colorado. There are a ton of people who get nominated for this thing, and for Jess to rise to the top of it, you cannot believe what it means. So a room that was supposed to hold 300 people had 400 people in it this year. She had a full standing ovation. She was so respected amongst the leaders in the state that when she won the award, everybody stood up for her. And that doesn't happen. It's a bunch of jaded people sitting there waiting to get through the dry salmon and steak and get this over with while people are getting their awards. So I just wanted to, I cannot believe that I thought, we did the video and at first they show the state and I'm like, okay, well, good, great effort. She got, was top 3. That's unbelievable. And then they show these people picked up, well, they say Good Morning America and said, they picked up the Today Show and these people picked up this and this and this. And they start showing this video. I'm gonna try to get it for you because it was heartfelt. You hear people going, yes. And the lady next to me from Vail, who runs all the Vail resorts, is like, that's your girl. That's Georgetown. That's you guys. You just told me about that. It was amazing. So I just, Jess, unbelievable. Your first year of work, you got here, you turned a bunch of stuff around, and then the state recognized you. It's unbelievable. I can't believe it. I've known the state for that.
Recognize Mary Smith, who assisted me with writing the nomination. So Mary, thank you for doing that.
From what it did sound like, many community members and people within the program and throughout the CTO did step up and mention the Georgetown Loop. You had recess factors and pond hockey, it featured our ice driving, there was the slacker and our burro races. Tim Wolf, the head of the CTO, not only loved my snort, because I was so awkward on stage, you can even see the picture where I was holding it backwards. I did include that for you guys. But, you know, he's like, I'm gonna come out for the burro races, and I was like, please, they're fantastic,
Yeah.
so, you know, not just for me, but to be featured, to everyone in the room was fantastic. Yeah, Super great. The other part too is Deb Brennan, who hosts this through her Altitude Events company. Not only is she my mentor, but she does have access to this video, so hopefully I was able to get that crunch turnaround, but you know, you have some great looking people in this group from when we were out in Durango to the night that we were all dressed up to being on the stage twice. I practiced for tripping, not for winning. It was kind of how I would happen.
When are you gonna take your celebration vacation?
Do we get those? March?
With the cash award that's.
March?
I think people just get busier.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, so a lot of things happened at the tourism conference, and not only did those two things happen, but we got to mix and mingle with a lot of different people. Paul was there in attendance, and I always love hearing that anytime he introduces himself to someone, they immediately go, oh, you must know Jess Jones. So working with Cripple Creek, Loveland, Netherland, and a few other smaller areas, we've talked about getting those smaller coalitions. We were in a work session, it was us, Breckenridge, Pikes Peak, Vale, and they had some really cool ideas about how to get information to the people through Instagram and having from instead of a walking tour, they have this social media tour. And we struggle in our neck of the woods. Well, it's in the post office, we have a town email, we can put it all over anywhere at all, and yet we still miss people. So Cripple Creek was telling me that they had something important that needed to go out, and they had to put it on their water bill.
Oh.
So we're hearing how they're struggling and their creative solutions, well, how can we also get on those? Now, that might be for a bigger project, that might not be events, but, we have much more creative things to tackle than, oh, affordable housing. That's great that you put how much percent? I think someone put an extra 2% on short-term rentals, and now they have an extra $13,000 to go into from their main budget taken out into their housing. It was like, I don't even know where we'd find $13,000. So sometimes you ask a question and you're like, how do you help those smaller underdog communities? And they start talking about the rural communities. And you're like, nope, we are the Rockies playground. We are the hardest ski towns, but we are still iconic and original in our own sense. And I think it's important to recognize how we can get together as a whole, but also how can we shine as our own individual self. There was a lot of talk about where we've been with the CTO, a lot of great things, but tourism is taking a little bit of a shift. Paul, did you want to talk about that a little bit more?
There are trends. To be honest, I want to get you some numbers.
Okay.
I didn't have time to synthesize everything. I just hit the ground running when I got back. But I have a bunch of notes. One of the big things that was noticed, one of the opportunities that we're facing as a state is with the recent changes in tourism dollars, and the focus off of advertising that we've done over the last few decades to become the leader in the tourism industry, we have slipped heavily down to 17, I think. And we are losing our lead as a tourism, especially international and some of the national, we're losing our lead as the tourism destination for the country. And it correlates directly with the change in spend that happened a couple of years ago. Because everybody thought it was low-hanging fruit, and that's what we were all saying about it. But I have those statistics in my notes, and what I'll do is I'll do a report. I'm gonna do it for my board anyway, so I'll do a report to you all. Our visitor center in the state of Colorado is really well respected. I get to be a star during that event during this week as well, because we're well known for preservation and we're well known for our visitor center. We're also known for there's a lot of discussion about sustainable tourism. There's a brand new program that's going out with the state. We've been talking about this for years, trying to get the right and all that stuff. And we'll say that, we already have a focus, and this is gonna be in my report, of arts and education, and combining things like heritage tourism, outdoor recreation, the HDPLC. We have this, and everybody's trying to figure out how to do something like the HDPLC. Arts, it's exactly affordable housing and stuff. We already had that going. And that was acknowledged, but at the same time, it's something that's been recognized statewide, and there are more programs out there for it. But I will, I just took over, but I have a bunch of statistics and numbers that I just want to throw into a report quickly, so. Okay.
Yeah, getting that unique, which Kevin already brought up, those unique visitors, we're gonna have to shift into how we wanna project. I think they were saying that Vail resorts and a lot of the ski towns are already starting to see a decline over the years, and they're, using the R word, a little recession over there, so if they're gonna see a big impact, how can we either capitalize on it or stand out and truly say like, well, we've always been here at our prices, you know, like, how do we showcase and still step forward even though
Between 20 and 30%.
20 and 30%, there you go. Yep, big numbers, scary numbers. So keeping all of those in mind, we're gonna make sure that all of our marketing dollars are being spent the right way. We'll have better check-ins going forward. This week alone, I'm meeting with 5280 and Westward to go over to see what they have for our winter to go from January into April, since that's a bit of our slower period. Skipping ahead a bunch, but anyway, the tourism conference out in Crescent Butte was fantastic. I totally forgot where it's supposed to be next year.
Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs, woo. But so looking forward to their numbers and how we can effectively create change within our organization will be kind of that key turning point for now, for the future of the state tourism. Any comments on that?
Congratulations again.
Thank you. A couple weeks ago, the county tourism board released Placer and a lot of their data on town. There's been some questions, so there's a lot in a couple of these packets. I've sent you guys numbers that she sent me for last year's Christmas market, pond hockey, and our 4th of July most recently. I would love to connect with her to see the impact of leaf peeping demographics. I think that's a conversation we'll have, because there's a lot of them right now, but, these are key analytics that we wanna know. We don't just wanna have, you know, the cheeky names of significant singles and promising families. What's the difference between a promising family and a flourishing family? Well, promising is they're probably on maybe 1 through 2, where a flourishing family is on 1 through 3. You know, those are kind of things that we wanna have a better understanding of what's this bourgeoisie melting pot, the suburban style, so we can see who 30% of our visitors are through 70%, but it's really getting more of who. So those questions will be coming forward. I'm hoping to invite Cass to get down here or present a little bit more on this information. The way that the contract with the county tourism board is, we only have 1 user, so we can't exactly all kind of hop in, but for now, she's been tackling over 30 different businesses in the area who wanted these demographics themselves. Hotel de Paris, the Grizzly Creek Inn, Mountain Mamas, I'm sure the visitor center, and of course, town has asked for these. Does take a little bit of work to go in there and manually crank it out, build the maps, so it is coming.
I have it.
You
I
have it,
have mine.
wonderful.
I've already used mine.
I love to hear this. So knowing that you've seen your numbers, you have yours, you're using it, those are gonna be feedback that I wanna hear on ways that you think that we can, and things that I'll say and you go, sure, actually, let's pop it here.
I just remembered something, if it's okay.
Absolutely.
One of the big focuses with the draw in the tourism industry that you're gonna see is their part of the shift is direct advertising, and a focus specifically on DEIA and how to use it, so it's not a bludgeon of people, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And so the main focus of the state this year, or the next few years, is gonna be on accessibility for ADA people and how to help with that. And then, as Craig was addressing last week or last month, but also as we were discussing, they are going specifically for 3 markets, the LGBTQ plus community, the Black community, and the Asian community, because there's 3 groups that have been particularly harshly hit.
This may ring the bell from.
And it was something that I brought up last week or last month, and something we've talked over years, but it's something that's being heavy focused, and it would behoove us to be leaders in it.
Hello, yes, good.
So knowing some of this information of who's coming around, and it will help us figure out how to contact them. The next thing in here is press releases. How can we start pushing to our local areas, bigger outside of it? So I did draft 2 in here for pond hockey and our Bighorn Sheep Festival. Bighorn is happening next month. We're super excited for that one. You've got a lot of people like Georgetown Trust, Parks and Wildlife coming together to make this happen. Really excited. Saw your email, Paul. Definitely getting back to you on that. And then our Colorado pond hockey weekend, that's gonna be President's Weekend. Lots of people expected to join for town. I would love to get some more press coverage on both of these. Hearing that sustainability and conservation is being the forefront. One of the key analytics that we were looking at was Elks Fest, Nessus Park, Birches, or Bighorn Sheep. How can we, get those people, they're clearly interested in the outdoors and wildlife. Maybe we can get them down here. Maybe they're not in the right area, they're too far up in Wyoming, and it's a quicker drive to Estes Park than down here. So who can we look in our area? It's just kind of using the numbers as a guide and then helping us figure out how to get to the people. We already do have a great influx of people already coming in, but how can we welcome more and do it in a, more conducive manner than leaf peeping is. That is still living over me right now. Some of our media hits, and I do want to apologize in advance as we look, because there is one not on here. It is the Entrepreneur magazine for the Haute de Paris, one of the most beloved small businesses. I also feel that way, so I do apologize for leaving it off this, even though it was circulated where it needed to be. However, we did host or help host the Georgetown and Idaho Springs Half Marathon. I don't know if you were out on the road that early Saturday morning, but they were out there crushing it. The Denver Gazette did a piece on Guanella Pass. There was a crash that caused a lot of tourism traffic early in leaf peeping season. It wasn't even quite the time yet. Then you have Denver 9. They typically are the one that will report on fall colors. A couple other of them did, but to save us time, we all know where leaf peepers get their information. And then of course, Guanella Pass from the Current offers spectacular fall colors as Aspen Exchange into the mountain. I love to support our local writers and our local paper, so that one was a great little feature in there. Any questions while I keep cruising?
No.
All right, our tree program, I've connected with Dan from the Fire Authority. Typically, we've worked with Jeremy, but he is absolutely overloaded, as I can imagine. So our biggest thing right now is we're trying to decide of, do we want more of the pink tree indicators, because a lot of people weren't able to find them, or do we just fully say it's a free for all? Our fire authority is saying just to not have the manpower, just say let them grab whatever, but I think that could be, as long as they have a permit, they can go up there and grab whichever tree that they want. It doesn't have to be indicated. I personally like a little bit of formality, and if they can't find one, we'll just do a better job of going up there when we can and marking them as needed.
And on the permit, can you, print some bullet points, like how best to choose your tree?
Best
And-
practices.
Yeah, best practices or something, maybe that would fill the gap a little bit.
Yeah.
Charlie Brown trees.
It's gonna be subjective, see, that's the thing.
I
but
actually
maybe
love the Charlie
a
Brown
little
sheet.
bit of guidance might go a long way. We
Well,
can
not
just
long.
try yeah,
Just the top.
yeah, just, yeah.
This is the next one that I'm drafting our press release for, mostly because, again, conservation, fire mitigation, we love to have those advertising features. We can get people as far as, Thornton have come down, and then on the other side, I think they come from, what's just past Breckenridge? I can't remember, Alma? Some people came from Alma.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting, but, I like to talk to them. If they have questions, they can't find their tree, I'll be out there if
And
needed.
don't forget, Georgetown has a mystique, so that could be.
Especially that is,
Yeah,
we need to get a stupid new name.
What?
It's hard to get new copies of the Christmas gift, but people still bring it up.
oh, yes.
You play this
We
year.
need a new Christmas gift.
Doesn't even play her blues.
It's a bad copy and it's.
Just touching on that, I do try to reach out
Probably again, it's part of our history.
with a sign for
Some people that we know are in.
Everything?
I don't, Craig, you're not in, are you?
What's
it.
up?
Are you in a
Christmas
Christmas
gift? And are you?
Oh,
I've been a little kid, but you've been young, but I know that Coral moves in it, there are all kinds of people.
You can find me at Christmas on the Homestead. That was filmed in my town.
Put that on the list of things.
It's still long meeting.
Yes. So moving into our after holiday hurrah, this is the one we were talking about doing a car smash and a bonfire. I was just speaking with our fire authority a little bit more on this, and they're getting a little more reluctant on the bonfire part. However, I was speaking to Beth Luther, and they have some big dreams down at the Greenway Trail for a mountain biking park, a pump cart, something, pump track, thank you. I'm like, I like alliteration. but the pump track. So we were thinking of getting a little bit more creative and we can chip those Christmas trees, creating mulch and then reuse it in our area to be a great featured piece, conservation, blah, blah. Just more recycling, less things going in our waste.
They need to be double chipped. They need to be the small chip because we used chip stuff in the dog park that we built in the neighborhood that I was part of. And it was too big and we had to go over it again because it hurt the dog's feet.
But it
Was that
it might not be as.
It's a wood park.
For bicycles, bikes, kind of like a, little mini,
Which is more wind
Just
resistant.
like course.
So I feel like chip would love, smaller chip.
These are all questions, wind resistant.
But they're chipping, but they're just, well, sponges blow away at first, but if they compact a little bit, yeah, they actually, good chips though.
First night storm.
Be very exciting. The other thing that we're trying to work out is personnel at the fire authority. While time they do own their chippers, so we don't wanna use their equipment without being properly educated, but at the same time, like, use what we got. So that will just keep morphing as the conversation continues, just reach out with questions or ways it can be more effective. Pond hockey, we're starting to have those conversations with Recess Factory. So that way we can get the campaign together, the banners together, seeing how we can utilize all of our town. It definitely was not maximized, especially with our downtown region. So maybe this is when we bring back Winterfest. We just didn't do it for 1 year last year. We can put it on and hope that it goes well. I think the allure of is it the nation's largest pond hockey festival, along with 3,000 people being in our town alone, will get vendors to come up in our cold yet heated booths.
When does Parks and Rec put up the ice skating rink? When does that happen?
Late December.
Yes, at the Christmas market, because of the temperature.
I'm just wondering if maybe could the ice rink be somewhere here downtown?
And wasn't the shift this year though, deciding whether or not they're gonna do the same thing or just go down toward the lake?
Last I heard,
They
the plan
skated out
is
more.
still at Woodland Park.
Well, it's still,
The last I heard, which was like this past month.
We order a liner and
Yeah,
everything,
that's-
and it's the same.
I mean, it worked great personally for me, but I do like the idea if you could put in a lot here or something.
That's where I'm going.
That would be awesome for the tourism. Yeah, I always got my dog over there. I like it, but
Yeah.
I would sacrifice that to have it.
Yeah, and with, the Hotel La Terrace as the backdrop with people skating in front, I think.
And then you could charge money for state rentals since it's more tourist use then too.
Well, we would just get permission
that's right.
to the town to use that lot in a different way. And it wouldn't even take up the whole lot, maybe only half of it. Plus, remember, we have the upper lot that gets underutilized, so we just move the.
What's gonna make this
cars
great
up
here
there.
to this part of this, Sixth Street as well?
I will propose it to the dams.
And then if you do the food truck vendors,
My big question is it movable?
Well, there's a lot of gravel, which will puncture a liner, so they probably have to put some sort of.
Just put crushing price out there.
Okay.
I think it's genius.
I'm down with that, I'm just giving logistics, so let
I
me
think
start
it
looking
should-
through
I
that.
think it should go up, and I think it should stay up,
They
down,
just
down.
stay there,
It's-
yeah.
Absolutely
It's one of
agree.
the-
Is that something you'd be?
That's the kind of stuff we need to do to activate downtown.
It's not,
I thought
it is the town,
That's how you get.
it's our lot, so it's the town's.
We're gonna
No,
get
I-
into that here, isn't it?
Make it pretty too.
We're largely closed.
Oh,
We're fine.
So-
I would like to have this.
It's everything, that is.
There, so.
Do it before Christmas market though, just set it up and leave it there before Christmas market, so
No,
it's
it's
in
in-
that lot prior to
I
Christmas.
like that, I like that.
Like
Makes
that
my
idea,
town
too.
so much.
Regarding
It's-
pond hockey,
it's-
would it benefit, I think you guys always pushing music, but, would it benefit us to get that other, to try to find money to help the library put that other heater unit in the, stage? And then have music down here in the evenings.
oh, that'd be so nice.
And street lights across Sixth Street, like.
Yeah.
Fun, it's cheaper.
We have lights during that time of year to pick up Big Sixth Street, but I will say something that I observed in Crested Estates that I can hang out without being with a bunch of people and schmoozing. I noticed that businesses in Crested put them in their courtyards and put them on their buildings. And I felt that it was almost more effective than when I was in, we were up in
Fort Collins.
Fort Collins, because I thought it was really cool that they were streaming across the street, which I'm not opposed to, actually, if we do it right. But, I found that this was really effective because it was a direct draw to the business, and it's like, oh, I wanna eat there. So if everybody did it, starting with, we could do the park, we could do privately owned or town-owned things, we could do the park, we could do the library park, I know Louis not opposed to it if we do it well, and, we could do, get Steve to do his place, and then other people did some, stuff inside their stores, but yeah, nice, but anyway, let's consider music, and, but we need to have another heater on the stage and do it.
Just another thought on the ice rink location.
Please.
We could get with the charter school, it'd be that lower court there.
Yeah, if it's big enough, sure.
And then it doesn't take up parking,
Yeah,
What's that?
and then it doesn't take up parking.
yeah,
It doesn't take up parking, it's an underutilized flat spot, it's in the heart of downtown. It's just,
Yeah, one-
it's a spot where we can set it up earlier, potentially have it frozen, cause we're gonna use this right now for the first 3 weekends. It's a thought that I've had in the past.
yeah, well, let's.
That's a great thought,
Do
too.
it.
I would like to make something, a point, is that when you're looking at human behavior and you're looking at streets like Sixth Street, the things that make people feel protected is when, like, you have dining on the street and there's a buffer between the car traffic. And the thing that draws people down for a walk, and I actually found some of the things that were done 25 years ago, studies. One of the things that draws people, one of the reasons that you have a dead zone between, like, going down Taos, for instance, going up Taos, for instance, and coming even to the hotel, besides the fact that it's a draw and it's prettiness, is that you stop your activity, and the fact that when you have a parking lot or an open space like that, it actually creates a human stop. People don't wanna go past it necessarily. And so if we could get it, and people can park all over this town, except for Christmas park, it's a rough thing, but we already use it anyway. If we get people to park elsewhere and forget about the town parking and have that during the winter when we're already suffering, and have that drop down, it gives you a more complete view of the street and gives people a bigger idea of more to do, rather than having it 2 blocks off of the main drag.
It would.
But to your point, if we have to do it up there, the thing that we need to do then is to make it really well, make it a huge draw, so that you're taking people up by Mountain Mamas, and then they realize, oh, let's go up there and see what's happening. That's, I just want to make that happen.
No, it's a good.
Yeah, either way, it's gonna help businesses, I think, either Mount Mamas and Guanella Pass or Hotel Paris.
Or we can,
Wondering,
yeah,
there's
something else up
There's
there.
no
Maybe
bad
we should
choice,
down the street
you
and
know,
put food trucks in that one.
It's
Okay.
but yeah, let's.
Somebody needs to go to parks and put, I mean, it probably won't happen this year. But
Why?
because nothing seems to happen.
Bro,
I'm not saying it can't, but I think formally, someone from business promotions, our chair, and put this on you, needs
Best
to go
in
to
parks.
parks and communicate this desire and the reasons, all of the above kind of thing, or if we all need to show up to the parks meeting that you do this,
Yeah.
present this at, that's fine, but the conversation here tends to die off if we
So
don't
we're done now.
push it.
they have one
Well,
tomorrow.
and if we are gonna put in a lobby too and draw tourists, I think we need to consider heating sources, whether it's like a fire pit or heat lamps and benches. So just to throw that in there too, it's not just moving the ice rink, it's also
We
promoting
could
like
probably
a.
use
like
those.
We don't have that.
Yeah, there's no way we didn't have fire pits over there, but.
Well, so like you heat lamps or something, just benches to sit on and a heating source.
Well, this is sounding more complicated.
Sounds more
Yeah,
expensive, I can move a bit.
Well, let's start with
I think
the
just
first step, is making that move, and
Yes,
then let's do the details after we get the
Yeah,
move, and that's a great idea, and I
Yeah,
think that.
let's just get it
It'd be nice to get close to the Strauss Park and use that.
Yes.
Oh, would it-
Okay, we'll be in parks tomorrow.
Things are on sale at Costco for $300.
Yeah, we have some over at the library.
Alright, let's go.
Okay, it's kind of like.
Okay.
Go pick them up.
Okay, okay.
My son's here.
Looking through our advertising opportunities, we did get more billboards going.
Folks, let's.
Pick up our murmur.
With the Effective TV proposal, that is the one for the streaming services. I'm connecting with them just to get some more concrete numbers for you guys. I was sitting down talking with them, looking at what we have left in our budget, if we wanted to use maybe $16,000, that'd be 4,000 a month, we could probably make a really impactful on one of our audiences, but they were saying if we bumped it up to $20,000, which would essentially leave us with just crumbs left in our advertising budget, which I do wanna consider some of these other ones. It would give us the chance to get two of those connective audiences, so once I get those concrete numbers, I really want that decision to be in all of our hands. And that's three options, there's the option to go with the concrete one audience, drive it hard, home at 16, 4,000 a month, 20,000 going for two demographics. Or we could just walk away and not do any of it at all. It is a cool thing to look into. We have to make sure we know what our ROI would look like, so we're not looking at spending a lot of money with nothing in return. But again, I haven't been able to give her all of the information, or get all the information from her to present to you, but just know that is still coming. Some of the new projects that we've been talking about was our new audiences. One thing that I've been kind of brainstorming as my child, and I wanted to connect with Bode about it, was the idea of a burnout base camp campaign. So instead of saying, hey, you're tired, just take a few days off work in your own city or your own town, we could be that destination. We know what it's like to come here and be a part of the community. We've got a workplace, we've got great lodging, we have attractions, but we also want to recognize that not everyone wants to come and do things on vacation. I think promoting the Georgetown Outdoor Discovery is a great walk through nature, maybe a little historic tour, but also helping them plan their own adventure. This is getting retail restaurants and everybody's information right into their lodging area so they can look around and have this fully peaceful moment. We are right in the beautiful outdoors. We're 50 minutes. Yes, there is some traffic, but it's nothing compared to, you know, if you want to go to Ithaca, New York and get away from the big city. Well, I'm not doing any of that, but Georgetown, Colorado sounds like where everybody else likes to go. As I remember. So, with that in mind, we're not looking to invite people with many mental health issues or things like that. We do have a limited police source right now, and we don't want to put a strain on the county. So this really is for the individual or corporate retreats. Those are kind of the main suites here. Eventually, we can start building out the 3 to 17 groups that want to come here, do some team bonding at the ropes course, maybe have some live music at the old school. We have so much to offer and little that we want to make sure people know the little is what we offer. We don't want to do anything big. We want you to take a breath. We want you to come sit at Cooper's and not be bombarded by everybody. We want you to stroll down 6th Street, or yeah, stroll down 6th Street, stroll down 6th Street and enjoy our shops and our fun people who really love it here and want to thrive. You know, you could do your own little historic walk and be like, oh, that house was built in 1870. I wonder what it was like here. And don't worry about that email that you sent 2 hours ago at the old school.
Yeah, I think she's onto something here. I think part of our brand is away from the hubbub. You know, if you want to chill and disappear, think of John Denver. He saw that, and that's why he would hang out here instead of in Aspen, because he could just sort of disappear. So I think that's a strength, that we are not, you know, Denver, that we are not Silverthorne, and we are chill.
We ain't trying to be.
No,
When I worked for somebody 14 years ago, and I went to Durango, and I was like, that's really cool, the Riverwalk stuff, and I was told very quickly, we are not Durango, nor do we want to be Paul. To that point, not to be too callous, the idea is not, it's mental health for healthy people with expendable income.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
And then last but not least, again, our new audience, Paul already mentioned a little bit of the CTO stewardship plan. This is the tourism office and Leave No Trace coming together to every community. We are the Rockies playground and saying, what do you need? How can we do better? Like I said, sometimes when we are in the Rockies playground, we do get mixed in with Vail, Breck, and all those big resorts, but how can we stand out alone? We are seeing more sustainable travel planning, and that's how we're going to capitalize on this. However, I do want to plug, they just released their video not too long ago, and the imagery in it is so subtle, But it just makes you so happy to see people who look like you, people who don't look like you, how you can identify through other stories. One in particular is these gentlemen parked their electric vehicle, went to go charge it, held each other's hand and walked out of the shop. Didn't think anything of it, but I'm like, yeah, that's what we wanna see.
It's not in your face, it's just that people exist.
It's just people existing. So, hearing not just that, this is something that when I first came on, we made sure we were a part of it. We know Barb, we love Barb. So when we're having struggles with leaf peepers, how do we get them to recreate responsibly? Oh, if there's nowhere to park, please don't just park anywhere, why don't you go somewhere else that might be a little bit alleviated, plan your trip a little bit better. So this is kind of tackling a few of our things going on here, so I just wanted to highlight that. They fully launched about a week ago, and then we're giving it to the people starting this week. Thursday is when our Rockies playground, if you wanted to go to that meeting, but, I did start to have a little bit more of a hand in there because they did wanna hear from the smaller communities of like, what do you need from us? And it really is more destination management with these higher seasons, so where to park, where to hike, how to enjoy the smaller community. That's the part that matters the most to my board. We want those sales tax, we want them to stay overnight so they can continuously get to where they want to be in the morning. We love day trippers, but I want those 2 to 3 days, and that's how we're gonna get there, so.
The trust is a member of Leap No Trace and the other organization we've been for a few years. And that's part of what's gonna be in my report is how we cohesively as a town have a huge lead on this program that's already happening. And how we can just create communication a little bit better between all those organizations, which is something that I've been working on for a few years, but now it's all in place, so we'll get it together.
I didn't have before, I just read Burnout Base Camp, but I didn't read the.
That's okay.
Before, I thought it was Burnout Base Camp, maybe before, my whole point of this is like, at the end of the season, when it's the dead time, is there, I don't know who would host this or how it would be done, but a workforce appreciation? Like, man, the people that are actually doing the work take such a brunt of abuse.
So PD.
Yeah.
No, it was bad. Everyone ran out of food, everyone ran out of patience, I
Well,
heard.
and just like, like service, people crying, because people are being so rude, like, that word, it's a tourist economy, those are the legs our economy stands on, like, there should be some form of workforce appreciation at some point, and I don't know how it would look or what it would be, maybe the hot springs could give a full weekend for free and close it to the public, that's big, but like.
I wonder where that idea came from. Who has a connection there?
But some kind of workforce appreciation for our community, I think,
I think have
go
a
a
big
long way.
that close down and do a free open bar and food, so that's it.
With your money.
No, I do recognize, like, I've heard some numbers going around from Cabin Creek, but just knowing how busy they were this weekend. You saw Coopers were running out of food, Mothers ran out of food. Going downtown, people had smiles on their faces whenever I come and greet them, Robin loves the people, she's exhausted, but she's in it, man. And I think at some point we should have those conversations. We did budget for the business mixers, but we didn't budget for workplace appreciation. One of the women in my group, Molly from Tully Ride, she did a consistent, oh gosh, I'm not gonna get it right. Essentially, she wanted all of the workforce people to be on the same page when it comes to welcoming guests. So you don't have, some reputations have this, so you don't go there, or, this one's exceptional, so everybody wants to go there and the wait times are insane. She wants that customer service to have just a baseline standard of exceptional. And so they hosted a, kind of a dinner with a speaker, and it brought way more attendance than she thought it would. It was a huge success, and it was something I wanted to look to be like, how can we do something before and after? But I think right now, after when's our slow period, like November, the
Well,
week
we
before
drive off.
Thanksgiving.
We drive off the fiscal cliff in November, but it's not slow
It's not fun.
for us. A lot of businesses though, after Christmas market, that's when they really slow down, people go on vacation first. We have, February is when you'll see like 2 people they'll go to the bathroom, they can see 2 people in the shop, that might be the time to do it. If we do a workplace, we could probably do it really cheap, we could all get together and get all the business together, and throw something in for somebody and do it on the cheap somewhere, maybe in the community center, we'll figure something out. But I do think that we do the other training portion of it, and I should talk about it, because it's the visitor center as well, because that was part of what we were talking about. If we do that, it should be a separate event, because the last thing I want
Oh,
to
no,
do is
I wanna
say,
tell them
hey,
they were
by the
free.
way, you can do this better, and that better, and that better. And so if we just did one, it's like, and we gotta be careful with it and make sure that it's a cool thing without it becoming a rock is crazy evening, that I think that we can make that happen.
Just want to make sure, like, this is a different discussion, right, of applying standards.
Oh, no,
That's
yeah.
That's why I just-
I was just saying, that was cool,
That's what
and
I
then
just said,
it
that's
helped
you
her
said.
align to get everyone there.
But there are some other
It's like
things we can do with that, and I don't know if we can get it happening this year, we can talk about, we can actually put some things in place, we're gonna try to do it and try to get the fundraising for workplace things, because those things, the little things get expensive. But if we did a small amount of beer, just a small amount of nosh, a real big thank you, and then if we did a nomination for who was the big face of customer service this year, and don't forget my stuff. And, and some silly things like, valor in the face of battle and that kind of stuff for people who try during it, because it'll tell you, and that's part of the trip, we can't do anything about the high days of, leaf season, but this weekend, it was so packed, this was the one where it was like, you couldn't get down 6 rows, it was so packed that we didn't sell that much, because what happens is everybody's too angry to play. And so we got, it's the other days, and how do we get them here during the week instead of just on the weekend? And that's where we have those good days for that, but if we, and that's a whole nother thing, but, like I said, something valor in the face, just silly little gifts that we can give to people who've done really well, in restaurants and frontline people and all these different things in hotels, because these hotels get forgotten about all the time.
I don't know how, they're the front line of hospitality.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But anyway, there's also some outreach that we'll work on the side, but that's, I think, we'll get a little coalition together, how about that?
Paul and I totally didn't work to talk at a conference at all.
And I know some people that might do. I'll put out some chips in a thing at Wonder Bread.
And I believe that concludes.
Okay. I'm going to insert myself here with chairman's report. I wanted to let all of you know that I got in touch with Commissioner Dowd. And he explained that even though he's out of town again today, even though his travel season is wrapping up, he wants to do whatever we want him to do. So if we want him to resign in order to open up a spot, he's fine with that. Otherwise, his term ends in February, and that we could just let it naturally expire. So do you have any thoughts on that?
I did hear feedback from Mountain Mamas. Diane is interested, but unfortunately won't have time until February, so that could be an option. Though she did also state she does have a little bit higher interest in county's tourism board. So either way, still wanting to be a pillar in our community.
Okay. I don't see any harm in just letting it expire. It's, same thing, different day. I don't think that. Just letting his term expire in February.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because unless we have a hot prospect that wants to get started. Does anybody have a hot prospect? Well, we can lift him into that position.
Can we make a swap perhaps? Could
Literally here today.
Yeah.
could we?
His wife asked me to wrap it up early, so we leave.
Could we ask them, because this, when appointment,
He's not on the commission?
He's an alternate.
We should swap that.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
He's
Okay.
checking in.
Mary was trying to say something.
Okay.
well, that's okay, you projected what I was going to say, however, the board of selectmen actually makes those
Yeah.
appointments.
Right.
So even between the alternate and, a regular member, it would have to go through the board, I mean, it's just like.
So, okay, so Mike,
The
can
rubber
you,
stamp
can
lesson.
you, address the board of selectmen and create a letter of interest
Sorry.
in that position?
make a recommendation
Yes.
to the board.
He's already done that by becoming an alternate.
Okay,
So it's on us to recommend to the Board of Selectmen.
So, yes, okay.
We appoint Mike
okay, got it.
to Jason Dowsey and appoint Jason to the alternate.
To the alternate, does that work for you?
Yeah, that was fine.
Okay, fine.
And then
Okay.
and then that alternate seat still.
Do you have an example of a letter like that we can just copy and paste?
Well, you guys kind of just make a motion.
Oh, we can just make a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion that BPC make a recommendation to the board of selectmen to change Justin Dowd's status from regular member to alternate member and to promote Mike Huggins from alternate to regular member.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, congratulations, sir. You'll.
Don't celebrate. till
Hold
after the workshop.
You're halfway there. Jess and I sat down for, about a half a day and worked on our budget for 2025. We turned it in by the deadline. And so, I haven't heard anything back from Mary Sims, so, we did ask for her guidance while we were meeting, and she gave us some great advice, and we, took that advice, turned it in on time, and so that's where we stand at the moment. Okay. Jess, thank you for mentioning Entrepreneur Magazine. I want to clarify some things real quick about that. Hang on just a second, I have the verbiage right here. It's a bigger deal than I even knew. I was contacted back in June by the editor, and I thought, oh, they just wanna, sell me some ad space or something. So I just, answered their questions, and then suddenly there were two editors, giving me a list of questions, and I had to fill them out, and then lo and behold, we ended up being one of the top 150 local independently owned and operated businesses in the country. And it's not a beauty contest, it's not, people's choice, it's actually based on data. And so that data is from Foursquare, and it looks like things like customer reviews, visitation, owner operator responses, reposts of pictures that guests take, the amount of time that they're at your place, and so it's completely objective. So this was really kind of a shock, and it was also very, very motivating and validating to me and my staff. So I think all of us are having a really great week. I also want to mention, I don't know if everybody knows, that Mike Huggins has also had a great week, and his new restaurant, La Fourette, is one of the top 25 restaurants in Denver, according to 5280. So, when this group gets some criticism from maybe our peers here in town, just know that these are leaders sitting at this table. And so we should all be a little more confident. I'm talking to myself right now, and just a little more decisive, and because we actually have some great track records in this ring. I just wanted to mention that. Wayfinding signage, we met on a Wednesday, and on Thursday of last month, I was already talking to House of Signs about the potential of a sign geared towards the trained people. So, I got your feedback, I passed it on to Paul, House of Signs, and then I reached out to him yesterday because I hadn't gotten the mock-up, and he said that it wasn't possible to have a mock-up by this morning, which I hope to have. We are in his design queue with 3 other sign designs in front of us, and he will get me an estimated time of delivery on that design, but it's just not possible for today. Okay, so I'm on it, but we are in a queue. Maybe all that I have, that is pretty fast. Okay, yeah, I think that's it, so that's my. Any questions for me about any of that?
Are you gonna hold your award backwards?
Oh, oh, that's what you did. Oh, that's funny. Okay, no,
Can you
but,
see it now?
oh, no.
She was admiring it.
Oh,
why
that's
she
so
held
funny,
it back.
that's so funny.
She was
We
admiring
will
it.
probably have the article from Entrepreneur framed. We'll probably have it for, I'll talk to you about it.
Also, vulnerability and giveness makes you more.
That's absolutely the truth. Okay, okay, let's move on to Jessica. You have some things to say about vacant storefronts. Can we hear what you got?
Yeah, so I was just we've kind of talked about this before, and then I just kind of coordinated with Rick on it a little bit about what this would look like. And I'm probably already describing a process you already know, but we basically would like us to kind of make a motion to ask Rick to look into this more, of how other towns do it. Some considerations, when I did it, excuse me, a quick look on it, was just, some towns do it by square feet, and we can multiply that by like the monthly average that other like stores bring in. And then there'd be a difference between, you know, a tax for the leaseholder versus a business holder. You know, is there nothing in there because there's no business license associated with it, or is there a business license associated with it and they're just not open? One thing we definitely want to consider was negative impacts. When I looked into this briefly, there were some articles on how it's not effective, but those were all for very large cities like San Francisco and Palo Alto, so I'm not sure how it would look in more rural communities. But there's definitely not like a need to villainize anything. We just need to figure out how to, you know, we're kind of getting decapped a little bit, our town finance by not having access to these sales taxes. So, you know, how do we make sure we get as much money as we can? We'll also not, you know, kind of over penalizing or punishing, you know, because I'm sure in a lot of these cases too, there might not be people available to open businesses or to lease. So I think if we're gonna look into this too, we might need to consider a counter program of like, we've talked before about business mentorship and encouraging stuff like that. So I think those need to kind of be twinned together. So Rick, do you have anything to add
No,
about?
I don't, and when Jessica asked me about it, I said, normally the way things happen is when I don't go on directives on things unless the board's tasking me to go do things like that. Because it's very time consuming and you're gonna have to do a lot of research. And if the board's not wanting to move in that direction, then I don't go looking for things like that unless it's brought to me. Same thing with the board of selectmen, when they give me a priority, that's important that we work on those things. But, I know that this is a situation in which a lot of small communities are trying to figure out alternatives of how do we get more businesses in their storefronts. But there's always issues and ramifications. And so anyways, Jessica and I have spoken about it, but that's why she's bringing it back to you guys.
I just wanted you to know that I didn't add to the directive. I just said like, how would this even look?
Well, I have a couple of comments. One is, anticipate that not everybody is going to want coaching or mentorship. Some people may think that they have it under control and that it's a private matter. So you're not gonna have 100% without, although I do think that that is a very good thing to do to make the offer. The other question I have is for businesses like mine that by design are closed 165 days a year, let's say half a year. How would that affect businesses like mine?
Yeah, and I think that's what, you know, that's what we have to discuss, you know, we have little
Yeah.
Annies
Are there
where they're closed for
exceptions
6
or-
months, right, yeah.
Or is it case by case or?
Yeah, and CCEDC has a business mentorship program.
Okay.
Yeah, and a less need for the current businesses,
Yeah.
but more that like people in the community that are interested in
Yeah.
leasing a storefront and business
CCEDC has
space that
that
just don't have like,
CCEDC literally has that program.
yeah, that's great, but I think we should, yeah.
That is absolutely, because that.
But here's, may I just ask, before I would recommend anything to the board of selectmen, I would need to see exactly what you're talking about and exactly what your data is, what your gathering is in writing, in an email, so I can know exactly what I'm voting on, because I'm very confused right now. And so from there, if you could reach out to CCEDC and see how that could work in more of a town level and then get some more data for us before we send Rick on a large project, because that's what we are as volunteers. If you could get that together and then send that to us, that we can review it, and then I would know exactly what I'm moving.
No, I cannot get that together, like
Okay,
this
then
is,
it's dead.
it's not done, Paul, this is to say,
Well-
can we vote as a board to ask Rick to look into this? And if
No.
not, you can vote no.
I'll go now.
I don't think that,
I don't even know what you're having to look into, and no one's even reached out to CCEDC, and it's very confusing.
this is the start of it, so this is saying, can Rick look into what other small towns do? Can we look into what the negative impacts are? Can Rick or someone like look into what CCE could do to help partner?
Great.
I mean, we have an issue
Sure.
and this is a proposed solution, and if Rick can look into it, we agree to that, and there's no way to move forward with this, then it's dead.
Okay.
But I think killing it because I, as a volunteer, cannot do data research on empty buildings is not supporting the need that our community has.
I have a
think-
question, or a concern. you say vacant buildings, this says vacant buildings, but then we were talking about mentoring existing. And I don't think of your building as vacant or even little Annie's as vacant. We're all across the board here as far as what the focus is, and I'm hesitant to come up with something punitive to start with as opposed to something encouraging to attract the businesses here for the vacant buildings, which I'm sure as property owners, and I'll do the whole assume here. I would assume that the property owners are trying to, you know, entice new businesses to come, or, you know, their property is available. We aren't a mall that we can require the businesses to be open within certain times. So again, you know, that's like someone telling you that you can't have a lilac bush in your front yard and you have to plant rhododendrons. Is that where we're going with this? Because that's what our mom and pop businesses choose to do here, is to have that ownership and the freedom to make those choices. I understand where you're going, and I'm just as frustrated, but I think I'm hearing several different factors here, and I'd rather focus on something positive to start as opposed to, you know, I don't know, I haven't counted. How many vacant storefronts do we have? How many vacant?
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
obviously the elephant in the room over here. Just a couple of points, and this is with all due respect. The notion that commercial property owners prefer to have vacant storefronts in their building
Again,
it doesn't make any business sense. So to penalize them for that is only gonna have one effect, and that is to increase the rents for the people who are in those buildings. Because it's like every other business, you have expenses that you have to pay. You have mortgages, you have taxes, you have insurance, utilities, all those things, and they gotta get paid somehow. So it's just a different business. There's not a mom and pop business in downtown Georgetown that wouldn't prefer to be open at least 5 days a week, all year long. There's no people to patronize the business. It's a chicken and egg question, I get that, right? If we have more active businesses downtown, it tends to retain and attract more people. However, there's gotta be a central focus for that. As a business owner, I can tell you, that train closes down, listen, even Catherine, we die. That train opened up early last year, the Easter train, coffee shop, all my businesses that I'm associated with went through the roof. So there's gotta be a reason for people to come downtown, other than just to patronize businesses, because there just aren't enough of them to support it. Because the bottom line is it costs X number of dollars to staff a coffee shop for the course of the day, and if you're not gonna make that much in revenue, it's a simple business decision, you can't do it.
And didn't you try that with the Silver Queen Tap too?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I mean, listen, us printers, we spend a lot of money trying to make, you know, storefronts active and hopping, and the bottom line is if you do something like you're suggesting, I can tell you there's businesses that have approached my wife and I to occupy storefronts that we've turned down because we didn't think they really fit with the character of historic downtown business.
Yeah,
And I'm literally naming tattoo parlors, I'm not kidding. Unless, I'll take their money.
Wow.
Oh, are you kidding? I got, yeah, I mean, that's what you're gonna end up with is a mix of businesses that you don't really want, if that.
Yeah,
what do you mean by that? So I don't think it's tattoo parlors a bad idea, George.
No, I love them. I got my-
There's one aggressive, yo.
You know what? You really wanna walk down Sixth Street and see, you know, naughty lingerie in someone's window.
We do see that.
I know, you shouldn't.
Well, that.
But may I make a point? here's my deal, and Jessica, this is not a personal opinion.
But it's
Look, the reason I get so rankled by this, exactly what you're talking about here is the work of a chamber. That is an organization that people join into and agree to with specific rules they follow. That's a chamber of commerce. We are a business promotions commission. And so to send him on a research project when he's already over his head and we're trying to get other things done, to me, it seems like a waste of our community resources because we are not a chamber of commerce. No one's going into a chamber of commerce to follow those rules, so you get penalized, or you get whatever happens. And that's why this rankles me so much, because we are not that. We are a business promotions commission. Sometimes these things do bleed in and we do want to make recommendations and help people do things. But we're and coming off of a week of this wonderful thing that I did, it's all about how these things meld together and what we're doing and that Jess and I got to do and hearing all that stuff. It's all about uplifting and it's seeing what we could do on the side to help people do things forward. And that is where you are with the mentorship program. And I am happy that I want to meet with Lindsay anyway, and I'll talk to her about some of the stuff you're talking about. She may have this data and she may have, and we may have some mentorship program stuff and how we can put that out there further. And then we'll do that. And we'll do that before we make him do it. I will do it as a volunteer. I'll reach out to Lindsay today. We'll do it right now.
Can we invite Lindsay
Yes, please.
to a
Sure.
meeting and have her share with the entire board from her CCEDC?
But that's been proposed all the way since back when Amanda was here, like we have meetings once a month, and like some of these things, the ball doesn't move forward on.
That's because it takes volunteers to actually do it. I'm writing a letter to Lindsay right now.
Okay, I want to say something. Last month I proposed and we all voted to do legacy businesses. Instead of looking at vacant storefronts, let's look at occupied storefronts and people who deserve some recognition for their longevity. You know, it just turns that coin over. We look at something positive. So those businesses, again, we agree that if they've been in business, brick and mortar storefronts for 30 or more years, they should be recognized as a legacy business, and perhaps we help them to further succeed. Instead of closing a gap, let's expand the gap. Let's show people what success looks like and make those other people maybe hungry. And so things like maybe a budget can be set aside for planting the flower buckets in front of those legacy businesses so they don't have to incur, $200 a bucket. That's something reasonable and it's something that I think would be appreciated. I expanded my buckets to 3 since I really have three buildings right here. And the price went up, of course. And so, if I could get $500 to $750 as a legacy business as just a gesture towards our solid performance, that would be appreciated. So.
Yes, I want to say one more thing. I appreciate what you're
Yeah.
attempting to accomplish.
Yeah, you got
I'm sorry, but I appreciate what you're trying to accomplish through this. I do. I hate empty storefronts as much as the next guy. I hate not having my businesses open 365 days as much as the next guy. But it's a business conversation. It's a simple reality. It's the stick approach, I think, shouldn't be our first action. The carrot should be our first action. And I've had conversations with Lindsay about this. She's very eager to engage with this group on just this topic. So she'll be ready at the drop of a hat. That's what I would suggest we take for this conversation, is ask Rick to engage with Lindsay Valdez from CCDC on how we might move forward a program. Because listen, we've got a lot to offer. We've got a enhanced sales tax incentive program that gives you back up to 50% of your sales tax revenue generated over the first 5 years of your new business being here. Cabin Creek Brewing is the only one that took advantage of it, and frankly, got dumbed down so badly by the bureaucracy that we didn't even take advantage of it. But we were the first ones, and so far as I know, the only ones to take advantage of it. And we passed it 10 years before we built the brewery, like it had nothing to do with them. But we don't promote that, right? We don't have a package that we can hand in business and go, man, we're really glad you're here.
Yeah.
Here are the resources we have available for you. Or a platform that Jess can put out there as part of her marketing strategy, be like, you interested in owning a small business in a great mountain town with a, you know. Here's how we're gonna help you do that.
Well, I sent an email to Lindsay to set up a meeting with her next week. I'll do that preliminarily. I want to talk to her about some stuff with the trust anyway.
And maybe.
And then we'll get Rick, can either be involved in it or
Why?
Rick can just send her a meeting and we'll bring her here.
First, no, I'm sorry, Lindsay needs to come here and share with this group so that we, as our commission, make the recommendations. Why are we giving it one-on-one conversation when she's gonna hopefully share, let's say, 10 things, and we zero in on 3 or 4?
Well, I'm trying to get a one-on-one with her anyway, and that would get her to the meeting next month, is my intent.
I'm suggesting that just builds a little bit of platform that then it comes to us, so it's not coming to us like raw.
I'm trying to set her up with what,
But it's definitely.
the point of my meeting is to set her up with what we need to hear.
You know, and then let's channel
Okay.
what we focus on,
Fair
you know, 1 through 5 to staff, as opposed to letting them pick and choose, and then it comes back to us and we sit there and go. So,
So I'm gonna make 2 motions just because I want this to be on the record, okay?
enough.
Because I, as a non-business owner, did not just like come up with this out of my head. There were business owners that were like, we should look into that. This isn't me just being like aggressive like I normally am on things that I have no business in, again, like I normally am. But this was from like feedback from business owners. So I do want this to go on the record. And so my first motion is that the BPC committee request town administrator Rick to look into what vacant tax, storefront taxes would look like for our community and inform us on that. That's free to vote no, but I just want it on the record. And then the second request is going to be.
There's a motion on the table.
Okay,
Is there a second?
if no one seconds, do we not vote?
It dies, and it doesn't get removed.
Well, it's in advance.
Okay, now I move on to my second motion.
Okay, so the big needs to announce what's going on.
Okay, so, there's been, a motion, but no second, so, that motion, will die.
Okay.
Okay.
The second motion is that the Board of Selectmen, we request that the Board of Selectmen make the same request. So it doesn't come from the Business Promotion Commission, which is not a Chamber of Commerce, but it comes from the executive leadership of Georgetown. Okay, so we are not interested in looking into whatever.
Wait. Are you guys gonna like, this is the motion?
Yeah, so there's a motion on the table, is there a second? Okay, then that motion dies as well. Okay,
Please don't put words in our mouth.
I think it needs more clarification and preparation before we give this huge project to staff or the board. I think we can filter through some of the information. I know it's painful. I get frustrated. We beat these horses for years
Yes.
before we consider them dead. And which brings up a whole separate issue, but I support the thought, but I think the thought needs to be more concrete.
Okay,
all right,
So can I just clarify something?
sure.
I like Mary's suggestion, let's bring Lindsay here to discuss things. And as we talk through things, there's gonna be ideas, and then there'll be directives coming back to me.
Exactly.
Okay, that I would prefer that too.
I'll get her here at the next meeting.
All right, anything else before we move on?
We need to get Cass back here.
Okay. Who is doing code review of section 5? Okay, here we go.
That's me.
All right, thank you, Watt.
I don't know if I have this. So, I think,
You're,
Mama. our town code, no, I need to hold on.
Okay, gotcha.
And then I can pass it on.
Okay.
So I don't- So I'm putting out from town code, what it says regarding the Business Promotion Commission.
Okay.
which might be of interest to some of you, if you haven't bothered to.
Yeah.
If you look at the side that I highlighted, and I just want to bring this to all of our attention, because either we're, in my opinion, we're not necessarily following code. Do we expect to, or should we, at a future time, be making some suggestions to amend this code? So the three basic bullets that I've highlighted are the ones that I have concerns about. The first one is at the top of the second page, and I've highlighted, it shall submit a report to the board of selectmen on or before October 1st with the budget. And we do, in a sense, you know, prepare for the budget, but there's some other pieces in here that don't necessarily fall into the form of a report. Another concern I have is the highlight, the letter H, right underneath it, the on or before September 10th of each year, the commission shall mail to all the current business license holders copies of the proposed report, budget, blah, blah, blah. I know we haven't been doing this for years. It's shame on all of us, but maybe it doesn't, you know. Are we lost sight of it? Is it important? Do we need to reconstruct our purpose? And I'm not, those are rhetorical questions. And then just to bring to our attention on J, number 1, it refers to Jess's position as far as our involvement in her evaluation. And I know that our town administrator and staff, you know, work hand in hand with her for a lot of things, but I think we have input that I think we should be sharing on a more formal basis or at the appropriate time during the evaluation process with the town administrator so that it can be communicated to her. She comes in here every month and gives us all these reports, and, you know, we tend to lose sight of what maybe was done 2 or 3 months ago. So I just think we need to review this and decide, are we gonna do this or are we gonna change it? And if we're gonna do it, we need to start. We need to start.
We need to catch up.
Yeah, so it's really just at this point, just to bring attention to it. I don't know if you wanna discuss it or not, but.
I think it'd be easier to comply than to,
Someone else need an
than
extra
to
copy.
change.
Did everyone get this? No.
So,
Mary has an extra.
I have an extra, so-
did everyone hear that? What is that?
Yeah, it's easier to comply.
Yes.
A, I think it's easier, B, it's just prudent for us. I mean, item 1 is prudent for us in terms of justifying our expenditures.
Exactly.
Like, this is what's happening. Item H, honestly, the business community doesn't feel terribly well informed by what we do. I mean, that's the feedback I get from business owners is, what is BPC doing to help me drive? Right, and that's actually, and I guess, item A2, the marketing and promotion of the tourism activities and events in town that may be determined to be beneficial for the economic vitality of the business community. I mean, that's right, so what are we, that's what we should be reporting on to them, is the things that we're doing to. You know, we only got 3 things we're supposed to be doing. 2, 3, you know, the other stuff is all support stuff, but we're supposed to be, you know. We're 3 things our money's supposed to be spent on, I should say, are these 3 items here. And so we should be telling them how we're spending that money, and that comes in the form of item H. The Mary pointed out. Among other things.
So I guess I'd rather be late than to ignore it, and
Me too.
And some of this would fall, I think, on Jess, as far as putting some of the information together on these reports. But I'd like to see that done before the end of the year. And I'd like to see, you know, compliance with this. So, and I'd be more than happy to give some time of my own time to work, to help Jess kind of you know, shuffle through this information and put it together. It doesn't have to be all fancy this year, but let's get it started and then we can be in more compliance in the future.
I will too.
So,
Oh,
Well, and I'm also interested, I think we can bring this in our supervisory duties.
because that's gonna help her and us and the town as we continue that process.
I agree, and it helps us with the supervisorial duties, also helps us to better mentor.
And our goals for next year, and does it, you know, then come down to, you know, an idea that Jessica had proposed? You know, it just gives us that kind of focus and channel too, so.
Mary, thank you for,
Awesome. Yeah.
thank you for bringing this to our attention.
We very good, does the old Boy Scout, what does it?
Yeah. We'll figure out time to start.
The old jail.
Yeah.
Paul, you,
What's that, I'm sorry?
there's
the three of
one,
you are gonna get together.
yeah,
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
be offline, online.
Yeah,
and I left the mailbox over email, I wish we would have done this all along, I had no idea, thank you, Mary.
Can I ask a weird question? Was it budgeted already to have distribution for the mail copy? Because sometimes I do struggle with businesses checking the electronic, but financials,
We got the
budget.
money, we'll.
Okay, cool. Just
Yeah,
wondering.
that mailbox holder mail, even if it's a postcard, it's anything.
And we'll move on here.
Alright. So, Rick, it's looking like we can lump a lot of things, including the mobile food vendor, into your report, but I see Keisha here, so, do you mind if she goes before you? Sure. Okay, and so, hi Keisha, how are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I have two questions for you.
Okay,
One is, where are we with CODA? And the other one is, where are we with Sixth Street One Way? Those are the two things I want to know.
I'll start with, Sixth Street One Way I have not worked on, so, I did talk to John and Kelly about it a little bit, they have a lot of concerns. Jess passed along a lot of her info to me that she had done some research on, talking to the railroad, talking to some businesses. But that one was not a priority for me at the moment, I apologize. CODA, I had a meeting scheduled with some of the businesses that had expressed interest to me. I got mono and unfortunately had to cancel that meeting. And I've been trying to reschedule, but with leaf peeping season, all of them have been slammed. I can tell you that Lloyd from Creek Creek Inn has approached me, with an interest in participating, which does change a lot of the proposed maps that I've submitted to you. So I'm hoping next week, maybe it'll be a little bit slower and those businesses will have an opportunity to find time in their schedule to chat with me about some of the concerns that they have. There are concerns from business owners about the liability they would be incurring by allowing people to go outside with alcohol. Our lawyer has also expressed concerns about pedestrian byways. He's written a memo that will be at the board selected meeting next time, but the long and short of it is that Idaho Springs has something they call a pedestrian byway, but the reason that they're kind of allowed to do it, and Jared feels very sketchy about this, it's because they limit traffic, even though it's technically a throughway, it's only for emergency vehicles, basically. So our road that we're proposing, not closing, which is Rose Street and 6, is a little too busy, I think, for that kind of system, and I can give that memo, I can email that memo out to all of you if you're interested in reading it. Let me write that down so I don't forget. So we're still muddling our way through trying to figure out some of that stuff. Jess has come up with a cool list of potential names for the CODA area, so we're working on some marketing stuff for that. And, you know, I think the first step is figuring out who wants to participate, and it's just with leaf peeping season right now. Diane and Steve at least are very overwhelmed and not had time to chat with me about it. Ron, I think, is out, but, you know, let me know if that's, you hear anything different, because sometimes people say different things to different people. So. Any other questions about that?
I had a brief conversation with Ron about it.
Mhm.
I think it's a complicated topic, as we all know really well at this point. And I'm not sure, I mean, he immediately put his hackles up, called his attorney, immediately got his attorney's hackles up. Right, it was like an explanation of the liabilities behind it in a framework of their existing liabilities as a liquor license holder, I think would be useful. Because I talked to our insurance folks and our attorney about it, and they're like, yeah, it's really no different than going to pouring beer to beer festival, or it's really, they're just like, yeah, if you're gonna serve alcohol, you got liabilities. And that's the reality. But there are controls in this that help identify if there is a liability issue, i.e., let's say you've got a stumbling intoxicated person out there, right, where you can basically backtrack to their last source of, you know, of where they actually got overserved. You know, and I don't know that they, probably as much as anything, were willing to take the time to contemplate that. Or present it to their people who were giving their advice in a very objective way. You know what I mean? It's kind of like saying, all due respect to Kelly and John, hey, we want to win with 6th Street. Well, taken out of the context of all the other things that would go into that to make it work. Yeah, it's immediately like, oh God, that sounds like a terrible idea. We've never done it. We shouldn't do it now. And so I think it's not about necessarily how it was, the question was framed. It's just, we've all got so much more background on it than anybody we're gonna present this to. It's a challenge. It's good. It was a challenge for us with all the education you gave us and the whole thing, that I can see where it's a challenge for them to really comprehend and contemplate their participation in it. So, I don't think we should like feel like it's dead because, you know, they can't see the benefits of it through the fog of what am I responsible for?
I recently had the same conversation with a business owner and, you know, I have a restaurant background and, what that was it, it's the what's in it for me portion of it, and why is the benefits to them, et cetera. And immediately people get their hackles up and it's like from a place of no, and then, and that why you guys, we're doing this for you instead, I'm like, no, it's for you, and this is why, this is what we want to do. And then also, you can serve somebody in your bar, and you've got them on camera now, because we have cameras everywhere. I said, you can't do anything about serving somebody in your bar, and they have their hidden Dixie cups sitting out in the flower box, and then they're wasted, and they do something about it, and then they trace it back to you. Same liability level, same exact issue, and you say, no, this is how they came in, this is their service. This is what happened. Can't do anything about the Dixie cup that people hide all around, or not Dixie cup, solo cup that people hide all around town.
I've never done that.
Yeah, because you were in Colorado where like, there's even that, like, usually.
No, I don't, you know, I have it in my.
There's zero places in Colorado that.
Yeah, and there's that part, and I think it's gonna be, it's asked to make it.
There's 0 places in Colorado, 0 downtowns that this happens, like any kind of debauchery of drinking.
And I think it's gonna be up to us to.
Like, we have this vision that's gonna be like.
Bourbon Street.
Everywhere, you know?
Savannah, how often does Savannah have issues?
Oh, nothing.
The open city.
And we're not,
And you just have to wear decent heels.
we're not forcing any business to do this.
Yeah.
We're giving them the opportunity, like you say, we're giving them the opportunity. You know, if we build it, they will come, or maybe they won't, and that's up to them.
But you know
That's
what?
up to them.
Didn't Kevin pointed out the other night, and I'm sure it was because the library had a liquor license, we only have so many as nonprofits. But there was a dinner, I think, at the at Library Park. Is that
It was a
right?
wedding reception.
A wedding reception at Library Park. Well, that would have benefited Ron.
It was Ron's
It
daughter.
was Ron, right. But instead of having to worry about a private party you're serving at your lodge or whatever, and then, you know, the library, he could open and say, hey, yeah, take our food to go sit out there at Library Park, have a beer and enjoy your stuff. And so I think it's gonna be these continued conversations. It's gonna be peers doing it. That's gonna make it work.
As
With back.
I think I'm the longtime resident here sitting at this table. I can tell you, this stuff it takes a minute. Yeah, it really does. It takes a minute for any of this stuff to take hold. And we just have to persevere, like we just have to keep pushing.
Yeah.
Did we have this conversation when I was working for you?
Probably. But, continue to move the ball forward.
Yeah.
And don't get hung up on, who's not participating. Because I'm gonna synthesize this for everybody, they might change their minds later, so just go ahead and continue, okay?
Gotcha.
Please, thank you. I'm all
Yes.
for it.
Yeah, I'm for it.
I think
Gary,
it's bad.
are you ready to get a liquor license?
Yeah.
I'm like, Gary, you pay for a drinking?
Okay, so, Keisha, anything else for us?
No.
Oh, are you sure? Okay.
I don't think
Okay,
so.
okay, I'm just teasing you. Okay, so we're up to town administrator report and, part of that, if we could set some time aside to talk about, leave season. Okay, but go ahead, go for it, sir.
So just updates, on the, vendor appointed area, vendor, trucks, food trucks area we were talking. I'm still, I think the next meeting that needs to take place, because I've talked to Amanda. Amanda had a ton of feedback based on the stuff that I'd already done. And she would like to have a meeting, and maybe some of you guys would like to participate in that, but a side meeting so that we can thoroughly go through that, because as I was looking at changes, just changes in the code to allow that, it opens up a whole nother door of like the whole vendor, contracts and stuff. So, it's a little bit more involved than what I anticipated. It's more like, I thought, oh, let's just do this. It's like, no, we're gonna have to go through this. So if some of you guys would like to be part of that, I would need your help, because it's gonna be me, Amanda, and some of you to kind of look through some of this. So it's kind of on pause until we have that next meeting.
Let's
So,
just create a work session. So
Yeah.
Those who want to participate can do so, and then.
I have no background and stuff like
Yeah.
this, so.
So we've done a lot of legwork as far as like where and what kind of things. It's just now looking at the code that needs to be changed and the verbiage, and to make sure that it's, because there's some wonky parts of this. And so, and even Amanda was telling me, she said, we put this together and I had issues even then, but we just put it together and it's just gonna take some more time to clean it up. And I'd rather us do that and then give it to Jerry to have his last review on it than getting him to do this. And then it's not what we want, so I want us to put our thoughts on it. So that's where we are on that. I'll schedule something with Jess and send it out to see when, that a time can be available for
Like
us.
a dual poll or something, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
So I think Craig and Mike's input would be about.
yeah, for sure,
yeah.
yeah, I think
I
that,
value all your opinions. I think it's great. So I'm just this is, more like popcorn style. I'm just going through how my things I think would be important for you to know. So one that's popped up is in preparation of Christmas market specifically. We'd like to see some things changed, and I know, it's like change for the better, like, I love the positivity, like, we wanna think future of how to make our Sixth Street better, and so one way is part of that. But I think something simple is, the lights that go across, I would love to see that, year round. However, I'm not asking for that yet. Cause I know but I love the destination feel of that. However, talking with our staff, one of the issues in preparation for Christmas market is, those lights are too low. Semis scrape them and all it takes is one truck that's a little bit taller and it ends up knocking all of that out. So I'd like to raise them up 2 feet. I've already started talking to the business owners, of getting their consent to do this. We'll take care of all that. We'll put the anchors in and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not wanting to remove the old one. I'm just wanting to add another one 2 feet above.
Are you using historic eyeballs?
I want to say that I think you're on the right track, because, we've been talking about lights over Sixth Street for years and years. And, one of the, pushbacks was the blocking of the view of the buildings. They're not that close together that I agree with that, but every time I see a street with lights like, you know, in an article, I noticed that they're like 2 stories high.
Yeah.
And you do see more of the building because of it, so I think that's another benefit.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I've seen them torn down by trucks, so that's a real issue.
Yeah.
But I think the higher you go, the better.
And I think just 2 feet.
Yeah,
to-
I think that's all you can do,
Yeah.
because I was going through in my mind the buildings along here, they're not all of equal height.
Right.
And so if you have all 2-story buildings, yeah, done deal. But we have 1 story, 1.5 story, 2.5 story, we have all kinds of different heights. So I think just increasing it is all you can do, but it will benefit. I think that's great.
Mary, you laugh, but there are facade easements in some of these.
Yes, and
places,
that's.
And that has to be addressed through
Yeah.
these and older. And so they may require a specific kind of bulk so that it doesn't damage the ground.
Yeah.
But
So
that's why-
it's a very quick process.
But I'm calling every owner right now.
Yeah, maybe-
So just to make sure
Ask
they
the
get
question if
one.
they have a facade easement, ask them if they have a facade easement.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be important, because, the hotel does. We do not own the exterior of this building. It's owned by Colorado Historical Foundation.
Nice one, Anderson has one.
And so, the Dames don't want any bolts on this building, but honestly, it would be Colorado Historical Foundation's call on that. So we don't have lights in the 400 block. I would like to see lights in the 400 block, so I'd like the lights extended at some point to include us.
We're gonna put blinking ones over here.
Be nice if we could.
Oh, they're already there.
Well,
It is what it is.
It'd be nice if we could.
Fresh off the street.
It'd be nice if we can't do bolts in buildings,
Yeah.
like the stucco on the, or the surface on the, you do poles.
Yeah, because there's a.
The other thing is, I think that, road and bridge are overtaxed, I think it's fine getting them up as quickly as they can, but honestly, I don't know, maybe they can't take them down so fast.
But, there is
I have an idea, but.
there's a pole at the corner, on Strauss. And so there's no building there to attach to, so
Yeah.
there's a pole, you know, we don't have a building here, so maybe poles could be put in here. And, you know, depending on Colorado Historical Foundation and working it out with the Danes, maybe there'll have to be a pole here. But, just keep in mind that at some point, we would like lights in 400 block.
Wonderful, because it continues that visual.
Yeah,
It does, it
And then you have that wonderful tree that's right up there on the cliff.
We're gonna have to like the skating rink.
How's that lit? Is that bad?
Oh, he was in here for that.
I think the majority of the business owners are.
Aesthetic, whatever.
Yeah, so far, that's what I'm getting to. They're very excited. Yeah, so I appreciate the support, because I'm trying to work towards that, and can we get that done before Christmas and before we put lights up? And, you know, our road and bridge crew are the ones who kind of initiated this to me,
You
saying,
don't need a motion, do you?
no, I don't need a motion.
Okay,
So that's
great.
just an update. And then, you know, like, to me, it's like, it sets us up for the long-term possibilities. If we want to extend and keep them longer, or take the wreath down and just put the white lights up or something. It creates opportunities for future. So I'll leave it at that. We're not there yet, but we'd love to plan to try to get there. Next is, Road and Bridge came to us about a project downtown on Sixth Street. So there's many things that need to be done, and so I had them create a list, and then we started walking through, so Cajun's been involved in this as well. I think Jess too, Jess and I walked down the street talking about these things. So we've got our staff involved and created like a master list, and this is ongoing, so it's not exhaustive by any means, but we're trying to create something that, what do we want to try to do? And so I brought it to the DRC for their just thoughts, and they wanted me to narrow the scope down. It's just too big, and which is, it's important. If we're gonna go after grants, a grant can only cover so much. This is gonna cost way more than what a grant's gonna allow, so we're gonna do it in phases. But the first thing that we wanna do, immediately go after a grant, like a Main Street grant, is to start putting ADA accessibility in our downtown. And so, we walked Idaho Springs, and all their intersections have the ADA ramp approaches, you know, right there. It makes it easy. We took pictures of wheelchairs going up the ramps easy. It's not easy in Georgetown. In fact, we sat there, me and Scooter sat and Cindy Neely and I too sat, and Bob Hamilton, we took turns just watching the traffic since we're in peak season and watching, people with disabilities struggle. And, people are trying to pick them up over the curbs and all that stuff, but we would like to focus first, phase one, on correcting Rose and Sixth Street, that intersection. Correcting all the issues, we do have ADA ramps, but they're like 15 feet away.
Right.
And they're not conducive for people to park, and I understand Georgetown's a unique city, people jaywalk constantly, we know that. But we would like to create something for a flow for people to go walking and not have to, especially if they're, with a loved one with a wheelchair, having to find a place to get up to the place where they're going. And since this is their corridor of CODA and everything else, we'd love to set that up so that that gets corrected. So that's phase one. Phase two would be fixing the curbs and the gutters that are cracking and broken along Sixth Street. Phase three would then take the model that we had from the intersection of Sixth and Rose and do Towson Sixth and Argentine and Sixth. So we've got other areas, but we got to start somewhere. And then maybe the fourth phase would be fixing sidewalks going down Rose Street, because that's our parade corridor. And there's just people walking in the street because the sidewalk doesn't exist. So we see plans of how to make this more walkable. But we gotta fix some of these things, and we need to keep moving the ball forward with our ADA compliance. So this is what we're proposing. Thoughts, because we have not, we're trying to narrow our scope down, but Sixth and Rose is the first scope. Everything in that intersection, we'd like to try to address. So that also means the 15 feet ADA ramps would be removed and the sidewalk would be corrected, so the curb head would go back in, flagstone would go back on top of that. So, and then we would reuse the flagstone in other places, so it matches.
But your ramps should be concrete with.
Yes, the ramps would be concrete,
With the domes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
So that signage in those areas would also be corrected, so we would try to make it, what it's supposed to look like.
My only comment, and I made this comment to you, would be to add sidewalks throughout what was originally the Sixth Street Improvement District. So basically from Seventh Street to Fifth Street, from Argentine to Griffin. So the sidewalks are complete, because right now what we have is we don't actually have sidewalks from most of our parking
Right.
to our businesses.
Yeah, we noticed that when we did the
And
walkthrough.
frankly, that's a bigger accessibility issue. If you watch,
Mhm.
that's a bigger challenge for people with disabilities than the configuration of our quote unquote ADU ramps. Right,
We're only about one ways that would allow more space to do that, but.
yeah, I mean, that's true too. But anyway, the completion of those sidewalks, and again, that was proposed in an original improvement district that originally did all the curb and gutter downtown. They ran out of money,
It's just,
but it was actually planned.
yeah, okay.
And trees are scary.
Don't that plan. See what we can.
That was from 1978, I think.
It's a little.
Well, I'm excited about this. Kevin and I would not have been able to take our family in this town. My aunt was in Blue Cross Collegiate, and even when she was walking, she couldn't have done it, but then the wheelchair, she couldn't have done it. She's like a mom to me, and there are some places, and you have no idea how disappointing that is to people when they can't get from place to place. And I think it's a great thing you're doing. Grant writing, you do have to do phases anyway, because you have a limited time and specific code, as you know. Because if you do too bright a scope, you're not gonna get the grant as it is. So great job.
Yeah, so this is gonna go in the hopper, is important, so we're already putting our matching funds in our budget now so that we can appropriate this, so this will be very important.
Man, ask, maybe possibly think of something, if we do get a one-way, can we consider putting tree planter boxes along Sixth Street? It's a bump out, it's a traffic slowing measure, but also it's a walkability measure. And I know that some people are gonna say you're not gonna get a perfect picture of the facade, but I can show you 20 years later how those facades are still being taken pictures of in another group thing. It enhances the building, but it's part of the walkability core. And so it might be something to consider.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, that is a great idea. So we're gonna be doing some, let me just go through this to see what's most pertinent to you guys.
Not China. Copy of this.
No compliments.
So those are things that are pertinent to this area. Let's talk about the leaf peeping stuff, okay? Because that's a hot,
I'll take the lead on that.
hot topic, so.
Okay, so,
By the way, we have a meeting at 10 o'clock with officials to debrief, to get ready for this coming weekend. So that's coming. So anything that you bring is gonna be then taken to that meeting too.
so I've been stopped on the street by locals about leaf peeping and, the town government's handling of it. And the two things that were said consistently were, the trash cans overflowing and how those should probably be checked throughout the day during leaf peeping season. And then how the bathrooms were locked here at town hall. And I remember talking about this last year, and if I'm not mistaken, the response was, that the building would be overwhelmed, its plumbing would be overwhelmed. And I think at that point, we did, discuss then if that's the case, bring in porta potties, which didn't happen this year. And so what happens is when that door is locked and people are already panicking because they have to go, it impacts the businesses in Georgetown negatively. It makes their toilets overwhelmed. So it just passes the problem along instead of it solving it. And the other issue is if they don't go to a business to use the bathroom, then they're urinating publicly. And you've heard me complain about that at my business. They go behind the hotel and pee on my property.
That's why we don't have deer back there.
So, this did not sneak up on us. Leaf season doesn't sneak up on us. So what I'm asking for people here in town, as well as myself, is to, have those, trash cans empty throughout the day. Have porta potties, if we're going to lock this building, have porta potties to offset that need. And then the last thing I heard was that the, Strauss Park potties were quote unquote trash.
All of our bathrooms are trash.
Yeah.
All that's what happens.
So am I.
Wow.
So if you wanna see some pictures.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Mine were. I have pictures.
So I can tell none of this is surprising.
Yeah.
But I just needed to,
Yeah.
because others are counting on me to bring up this situation. Okay, that's it.
From the promotions position, and we ought to be under by 10, but, I would like to see how we can, there are a couple things, we need we need to figure out between all of us or some people that we know who can go up during the week and get reports at various points of the week where the leaves are. It's like a nightmare for me, and we could be the center it, and we can also put it on our website, we can put it somewhere, and in our social media, and then start taking pictures of it. And I think that if we did, would you do that?
I was like,
there.
"Is it for me?"
I'm up there all the time.
Yeah, if you could leave that, like, everybody we know, like, you know, people that do the hiking every day and all that stuff, like, that would be so helpful, if we could get some really beautiful pictures. And then we put those pictures on social media, and then we do a push that says, come during the week, don't fight the traffic, we're here for you.
They
You know?
actually are still packed Mondays and Thursdays, it's
Well,
really Tuesdays and.
I'll put it to you like
Wednesdays,
this, I'll put it to you like this.
No, I.
We had our, the week before leaf season really started, and it was a Saturday, but it's still there. We had the biggest day we've ever had in the visitor center. And we had a great week, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the next week, when we get this crazy traffic thing, and everybody's freaked out, and then you get half the people in town, and this is where it would be good to recognize the workers. You know, some of them are like, out loud to me, going, I wish the leaves would blow off. Really, that would, all these people
Oh
at
my
the
god, I
store.
heard that stuff.
And when I went, I was like, we rely on these people and it's wonderful, and I wish they weren't grumpy, but it's fine, let's get through it. But the thing is, the people who are in that traffic line, you're sitting there going, don't do gridlock, please, I would like to get home. When that's happening, and then we're always gonna have the overwhelming portion of it, right? But Wednesday afternoon is dead. And we didn't make money last weekend, we made normal, like, we had everybody and their brother was in the visitor center, parked all over the place, right, using the facilities. We're cleaning toilets and stuff all day long, and it's fine, it's what we do. That's not a money day. What we need to do, it's like winter, how are we going to get these people to come up? And you know half those people are retired. And it's the highest dollar spending group of people that we have is September, October. That's the time when they spend larger amounts of money. It's CTO can give you those, if you live in CTO, we can find those things. That's why I was like, I wanna work with, by the way, I know I seem like I'm shooting things down, but that's why I wanna work with Lindsay. That's why I wanna look at some CTO numbers, because I think that data exists, and I think that we can find it pretty quickly for everybody, so we can actually present the positive thing we're gonna do. Anyway, I really do think that we missed the boat on the midweek constant push, and I think we can put a later, set up a later, so that it's like a picture every other day, just going out, this is where we are, this is where we are, this is where we are. And I think it'll help all of us.
And I'm not sure who your officials are that you're meeting with, but, I really think we do everything we can during leaf season, right? Every business is there, this is our last big push before Christmas. We're trying to put money in the bank so we can get, we can go January through April and, you know, not take out a lot. So we want everybody. My PP, my per person revenue goes up 15% during September and early October. They spend more money now, because the demographic shifts a little bit from your summer demographic, which is typically younger, and less employed. So, I think our push has to be, and with your officials' help, being thoughtful about who we're putting out there doing traffic control this weekend, would be to enhance the visitor experience. Part of that is helping them get out of town when they're ready.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right, and that's absolutely gotta be our focus. And if that means shifting people's schedules so that we're keeping the bathrooms clean and trash cans empty on the weekends, it's what we do.
Yes.
I didn't want to work Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the restaurant, but it's what you do. So enhancing the visitor experience, because it's already difficult for them. Amanda and I have this conversation all the time. We can't provide the service to the customers that they're looking for. We hate going on an hour late. We did 950 customers on Saturday, and almost 1,000 people, and we turned away, I'll bet we turned away 400.
Yeah.
And Cooper's is, you know, numbers that are close. So those are just two examples that I'm aware of. I'm sure everybody was kind of in the same boat, but because it's such a challenge for our businesses to provide a great customer experience, just because we can't build a church for Easter Sunday, it's incumbent upon us as a community, listen, residents and town staff alike, to make sure we're doing everything we can to leave them with a smile going, hey, listen, I know that was really something. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next year, because listen, if we don't learn from each year, which we seem not to, right? We always are surprised by leaf season. They're not learning either. They're coming back to the same damn drive for the same day next year. So let's give them the positive customer experience that we're all striving to provide every day.
Why aren't we, on that note, Craig, why aren't we doing the same sort of town push for leaf season that we do for Christmas weekend? Everybody in town volunteers, somebody does the trash, somebody's like taking care of it, we get porta potties. Also, to lead, and if we push this right with the right restaurants, can we get some food trucks up here?
Thank you.
And that'll take people getting ticked off, at least they can eat something. If they wanna get a churro and some, you know, we'll figure out what it is, but a taco somewhere, instead of having to wait, and then that'll alleviate some of it, and then you'll have happier customers.
Absolutely.
And if we start early and then make this a positive thing, and then maybe, to Jessica's point, if we're recognizing people for being like the best customer service forward, the best this, the best that, we're making it a festival.
Let's have this on our summer agenda.
Let's have it on summer
Or
agenda, yeah.
whoever's still on BPC next year, so that we're talking about it in a timely fashion and planning for it.
Yeah, we need.
But this weekend, we can still leave people leaving with a smile.
Right, so can I say something now? I really appreciate your thoughts, because our staff have also been debriefing the same things.
Okay.
And so this is not new, and also I've been talking to business owners and our residents who are saying the same thing. And so I think what's happened is this is now elevating to the point of the way that we treat snowstorms. You know, like, we did a couple snowstorms and we were just like trying to make things work, and then we're like, we need a plan. And then we created the plan and got lots of people involved. And was it hard? Yes, but it was a lot better than not having the plan and doing it. So I agree with all these things. We want to have a good impression and good enhancement for that, because the last thing we need is someone pissed off, taking a gun out and getting, and that happened, it happened. it was a road rage this past
Down by
weekend.
the lake.
They took a gun out, they were so mad because traffic wasn't flowing. And then what did that do? It took John off of trying to direct traffic to now arrest this guy. And then we had no, and then we're all,
Can I get two things, though, just to come back to controlling the people that are here, or not controlling.
Guiding.
Managing.
Destination
Being aware of it, exactly. It's the same as all the locals in Clear Creek County who complain about all the traffic on I-70 and they want frontage road to be there, and it isn't. You know, so we have every road here in town, and we can certainly use more of those roads to flow that traffic. And there's an eastbound and westbound entrance to I-70 down by Empire. So that portion needs to be, you know, and
Like signage or something.
you may not be able to handle the traffic coming down past Cabot Creek because you're gonna be busy, but we still can channel a lot of traffic down Argentine. The other thing comes back to marketing. If we've got people in stop and go gridlock traffic, why aren't we taking sandwich boards for marketing down Argentine and down Rose Street and advertising our Bighorn Sheep Fest?
Right.
Come back for Christmas market. Don't forget Fourth of July. I mean, you know, it could be those,
It's
And
a
that's
captive
why, well, that's also what it is.
and if we make it fun, people at least, you know, that could help put that smile on somebody's face, maybe.
Yeah.
As they're in that stop and go traffic.
And why was John blocking off Main Street?
What?
Oh, yeah, he blacked, and I heard him complain about that yesterday, is also the way he
I mean, it's
blocked it
Main
off.
Street, always direct people down Main Street, it's Main Street, is that not Main Street? But not Main Street.
Yeah,
I'll let the experts.
Cause I went down there, cause I was running to one of our properties and, you know, he waved me through, but I'm like, why is this even blocked off? Like, let people go down.
and some people
And get
were
out in
able
front
to
of
get
it.
through, who needed to get through, who are also local, so
Yeah.
that's a whole.
What doesn't matter, I'm sorry, we're in a town, like, it's-
No, I just want to
Yeah,
back
yeah.
that because we live on Second Street where people coming off the pass are frustrated by having to wait and go around the corner and they just tear down our street.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. That's where we live, no, that's here, you know?
But then I actually, you guys closed it off this weekend and it worked really well. Yeah, it worked really well.
There
And I
were
mean,
motorcycles on the side.
yeah,
I'll let the experts do the traffic flow, but I would say I live on Rose Street, down in the pass, and if you wanna talk about traffic impact, think about it.
It's like.
Hey, one other
just
thing
happened.
too,
Like,
I've got one other thing, and then I want Craig to share some things too, so don't leave.
okay.
I guess one other thing, I'm just prepping you, I'm not asking for feedback, I'm just giving you an update. We'd like to look at this broader, like we've talked about right here. This needs a broader approach, which means we need to start thinking, okay, if this is big, should we start thinking on a bigger level? Reservations and things like that, okay? It's just a thought, people brought it to me saying, we need to think about how do we manage this, because this needs a lot more thought through. So people brought that to me, I said I would bring it to you guys, bring it to the board as well, and have a discussion through looking at options. And I understand, we may say, no, hell no on this one, but at least we should discuss the options of how to do this on a bigger way. So I'm just saying that. Last thing, last thing I wanted to bring up is, pond hockey will be here in no time. And so Craig and I had a discussion yesterday with, the event coordinator for that. It was high level because we're just trying to think, we're trying to incorporate, how to have a presence downtown. And so I really appreciate Craig because he's put some thoughts into this. And we're still very preliminary, but we would like to get us involved.
Right.
Okay, so,
And then before he showed up, he had an idea of moving the actual icing rink that's at the park down here to downtown.
We've talked about some of pond hockey, so you're just hitting some of those levels. I didn't.
Like at the,
meeting
basketball
specialists
court?
for that planning.
Basketball court was pitched or, you know, one of the park lots, and then we had the tent for the beer things, we'd have to. Yeah, somewhere we can keep it all, winter.
And that could be part of the conversation,
Yeah.
and I think should, because I love that notion.
That brings the theme down.
Pond hockey aside, I love the notion anyway. Last year we did, and I'm speaking because got thrown into this fairly involved, you know, we only had 2 weeks to activate last year, so, right, lesson learned. There was also some things about the way they had to schedule their games last year based on where people already had reservations to stay. They're not doing that this year, so all of the teams are going to be here all day, all of the days. Which is going to create, right, more opportunity for us to bring them downtown. Cause they're gonna have time between games that they didn't have last year, cause they compressed everything in the morning and afternoon. So it's an opportunity for us to really throw a party downtown and make it a place where people want to come and spend the 2 or 2.5 hours that they've got between matches. And I think this group should take responsibility for doing that because we have the resources, we have the personnel to help organize that. In Library Park and, I'm picturing.
Vendors and,
very much like-
vendors selling stuff in the, you know.
It could be worth, actually, like spending money on big game entertainment and stuff like that, so it's a conversation that I wanna make sure does not get lost, because we're gonna, some point talk about Christmas market, and then we're gonna talk about, and then we're gonna have literally 2 meetings before.
We need it on the agenda next
We
month.
need to start putting our own personal thoughts together around this, bring them in an organized way, and set aside 20 minutes at every single
Yes.
conversation that we have, between now and then to really make pond hockey affect the entire town.
Yes.
And quite frankly, it's obviously the business owner who's sitting down there right on top of it, take them.
Because they're not talking,
It's more than we can do there.
It'd be great if we could get businesses to stay open late, it would also be great if we could do pop-ups and some of the, if we have some of the MT owners who know what they're doing, they can, it's not too much of a hassle, it'd be great to do pop-ups in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the idea, right, exactly, so how do we simplify that process
Right.
and get those businesses
Yeah.
in? But it's really, we've got to help educate our downtown business community about, because it's an odd time of year.
Yep.
You gotta help educate them about how they can be part of the incentive to attract those people down there. We brought them into town. And be open. They've got a minute,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but what's in it for me? What's in it for me? Like, this is a great thing, you guys, let's all be part of this, let's keep that positive energy instead of
Yeah.
stay open because you need to stay open.
What's the weekend of contact?
It's
14th through 17th, it's
February 14th or 17th?
yes, for 2025.
Because then we all broke your memory.
yeah, so guys, one other thing, I know now February is becoming very hockey centric, you know? Cause we have 2 tournaments, you know, so CC Marty is planning to do theirs again. And I know I pitched this before, but I really would like to get your thoughts on this. We're gonna have new light poles going down Argentine. I would love to see hockey banners or something going down there.
Absolutely.
Can we get Jess to get some numbers?
Yes.
She
has,
As long as they're all
No,
done.
I already have the design, I just need
Okay.
to, yeah, no, we're pushing ahead on.
Okay, I
So
just
this is something that Jess and I incorporated into the budget.
great.
So, our budget's not gonna be any bigger next year than it has been this year, and we have 20 additional poles. So we put our heads together and decided just to do a single banner per pole so that we can have banners on all poles. So it's not gonna be these dual banners anymore, because we just can't afford it. It's gonna be a single banner, and that way we'll extend down the length, so.
Nice, okay. It was on
She has
my
to
mind.
cost all of it.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Jess. And it's just like we're getting ready for this, you know, and we're embracing, it feels like the town is starting to embrace this. And then as we get the budget, we can bring more stuff in through this area as well, so that's all I have.
Alright, there's no reason that we won't get the up and coming star.
Okay, Rick, thank you. Great news. Thank you. Very exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Okay,
Yes,
okay. There's a motion on the table. It's been seconded. Did we hear?
Where's your meeting?
No, yeah. It's it's about, approving last month's minutes.
Oh,
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, do we have a second? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.